Kenyatta University have been denied access by the hospital management for teaching and learning. The situation will render many of the medical students deregistered or forced to enroll afresh elsewhere to pursue their studies in medicine. That Kenyatta University has been relying on infrastructure and facilities from other health institutions to train health professionals, a situation that is not sustainable. Moreover, these institutions are not able to offer specialized training for healthcare professionals beyond undergraduate level, and yet there is enormous need for more health professionals and demand for training in the health sciences in Kenya. That the petitioners have made efforts to address the matter, but the relevant authorities, all of which have failed to give a satisfactory response. The petitioners therefore pray the Senate as follows. 1, to intervene in this matter through the relevant committee with a view to ensure that full access to KUTV be granted to Kenyatta University medical students to utilize the hospital for their learning purpose. 2, recommends that legal notice number 4 of 2019, which recognizes KUTV as a standalone parastatal, be revoked. And finally, that the KUTV be reverted to a university hospital for use by the students in the College of Health Sciences. Now, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments, observation or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make my comment on this petition. Mr. Speaker, when I served in the National Assembly in the 12th Parliament, a similar petition came to the National Assembly, but the petitioner was the WASU, the University Academic Staff Union. The petition went to the Health Committee. It was exhaustively handled there. And then later on, it went to the Implementation Committee, where I served as the Vice Chair. And I have quite a lot of information about this. Mr. Speaker, this is a very simple matter that the government can address, because the institution, in this case, Kenyatta University Referral Hospital, was initially funded by the government. And then they got funding from other donors. But the government then decided to set up, through a legal notice, a parastatal, where they appointed the board and made it look like it is independent from the university. I think if you look at the reports done by the National Assembly, it was very clear that the university, the hospital should be taken back to the university. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm just giving this background information so that the committee that will be looking at this can also get an opportunity to look at the reports that were done by the National Assembly to inform the decision that needs to be taken. Otherwise, I support the petition, and it is important that the hospital reverts to the university as initially envisaged, instead of running independent of the university and appearing to be denying the student the opportunity to use the facilities which are offered at the university. I support the petition.
Senator Boni.
Mr. Speaker, very surprising. In fact, I have no idea how the people running the so-called parastatal hospital fail to see the benefit of having a symbiotic relationship between their so-called parastatal and the university. The university is going into that relationship to teach and do research. And in the process, Mr. Speaker, the same doctors, same specialists, the same students will serve the hospital for free. Because medical professionals, when they are teaching at the university, they are paid by the university. And then when they go to the hospital, they only take their students there to go and train them. They continue doing their research. So the hospital has got cheap labor by way of continuing students, by way of the lecturers. So the problem here, Osotsi, is that parastatal which you seem to have grasped very well is being run by people who are only seeing the money. So they are fearing that the other arm of the university will come and partake of that money, and they do not want to they do not want to share the money as such. So, Mr. Speaker, as I support, we should protect the patients, because, Mr. Speaker, those busybodies who are now running that parastatal / hospital are only seeing the money and not seeing the specialized services that they are denying those patients. So as a house that protects the public, we should ensure that we go for that legal notice. Oswati has talked about legal notice. We go for the legal notice, either we repeal it, or if Sifuna calls it in law, we tear it into pieces, or you call it repealing, whatever you call it. That is where the problem is, and then life will be just normal. I support the petition strongly.
Senator Mazayo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kama kuna wakati wowote nchi hii ilikuwa inahitaji msaada, ni msaada wa madaktari. Kama kuna wakati wowote katika wanafunzi wanaojifundisha taaluma tofauti tofauti, lakini za muhimu za kusaidia Wakenya wakiwa ni wagonjwa, ni usomaji ama taaluma ya udaktari. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha kuona ya kwamba wanafunzi wanaweza kuwa wanajisomea kuwa madaktari, alafu unapata ya kwamba chuo kile cha kwamba ni referral ama naita uchunguzi wa magonjwa tofauti tofauti ambayo yanaweza kuletwa katika hospitali yaweze kufaidi watoto ili wapate taaluma zaidi ya kuweza kuokoa maisha ya Wakenya. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha. Na ikiwa kwamba inajulikana ya kwamba kuna mgawanyiko, ya kwamba skuli ya kujifundisha udaktari na ile ya taaluma wamechukua sasa, wameenda pande nyingine wale mabwenyenye, ni kitu muhimu Bwana Spika, ya kwamba hii legal notice ambayo iliweza kuchapishwa na kuweza kugawanya hii hospitali moja kwa mara mbili na ile ingine ikaenda na watu wengine, tunasema kwamba hiyo ilikuwa si sawa. Na kama si sawa Bwana Spika, umuhimu ni kwamba katika hii petition ambayo imeletwa, ikiwa inaweza kupelekwa katika kamati ile yetu ya afya ambayo itaweza kuangalia jambo hili, iangalie kwa kina ya kwamba ile legal notice ama ile taarifa ya serikali iliyopeana kuweza kugawanya hivi vitengo viwili vya hospitali na ile ya referral, basi tunaona kwamba hapo hakukuwa na sababu maalum ama sababu mwafaka. Tunasema ya kwamba iweze kuondolewa ili wanafunzi wale wanaojifunza udaktari waweze pia kupewa nafasi ya kuenda katika ile pande ya research, ili waweze kufanya research zao ama kuweza kufanya uchunguzi wa magonjwa na kuweza kupata taaluma hiyo pia. Kwa hiyo mimi kwa maoni yangu ni kwamba ikiwa itapelekwa katika kamati husikana, ni lazima ichunguze jinsi itaangalia ile legal notice iko namna gani na kuweza kuiondoa ili wanafunzi waweze kupata taaluma hiyo. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Roba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance to contribute to this motion. It is extremely important, Honorable Speaker, that always the purpose for which an institution is established is followed to the letter. When Kenyatta University announced that they are going to establish a state-of-the-art medical facility within the university, the country was engulfed with an air of excitement, Mr. Speaker, looking at the residual benefit that is going to accrue to students that are going to get the opportunity to train their practice within the hospital. It's very sad if then, after establishing, the management of that university decides to privatize the institution and lock out students from benefiting from that hospital. As we get the opportunity to travel in many countries, Mr. Speaker, the best hospitals in most of these countries are university hospitals run by the university. Now, for the management of that institution to feel that the students and lecturers should not access is a very sad position. The last term of government, Mr. Speaker, I was exposed, the nation was exposed to a very bad decision when Honorable Balala, the then CS for tourism, made a decision to say Kenya Utalii College was not doing very well, and as such, it should be auctioned or sold. The purpose of establishing such college was never for profit making. It was for purpose of industrial engineering attachment to be able to produce creme de la creme of professionals in the hotel and tourism sector. And if the managers do not understand the purpose, then we are left disadvantaged. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support that this institution should be given back to the university for us to get the best of all training for our students in the university and for the lecturers to be able to benefit from it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes you sit in this house and you hear things and you wonder, where did common sense go in this country? I mean, we should just go back to common sense. How is it you build a hospital next to a university? The university teaches medicine. The hospital was intended to actually help in the advancement of medical studies. Then you give a legal notice saying that that university cannot be utilized by students of that same university to study the same thing for which the hospital was built. Mr. Speaker, honestly, as a country, we need to find common sense again in governance. There are many things that you hear and they just don't make any sense. I would be very interested once this petition is committed to the relevant committee, when the minister responsible for health, or whoever it is that is responsible for this, we would want to share in that wisdom, because from where I sit, with the facts that have been read to me and what Honorable Ososi has submitted on the floor, there is absolutely no sense why institutions that operate door to door, one that should be symbiotic, a relationship that should be symbiotic, as Honorable Khalwale has said, somehow does not exist. Mr. Speaker, there are many examples of things that just don't make sense in this country, but this one, I think, for this week, because Kenya will surprise you, for this week, I think this is ranking a distant first after another one I had yesterday about ranking schools on the number of trees that are planted, Mr. Speaker, but I don't want to go into it. I support this petition, Mr. Speaker, and I would be very interested to listen to the rationale, the thinking, because I just don't get it from where I sit. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very interesting petition, and I wish that the petitioners had actually attached, or probably it came as part of the documents that came with the petition, this legal notice number 4 of 2019, where this decision was made and sought to be anchored in law. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that it has held so since 2019 up to date. If you go to Moi University, Mr. Speaker, especially the town campus, you will see the kind of interaction that trainee doctors have with doctors that are in actual practice at the hospital. The trainee doctors from Moi University Medicine School and the doctors that practice at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. If you go not very far from here at Kenyatta, if you've had opportunity to visit patients at Kenyatta Hospital, Mr. Speaker, you know that on most afternoons, if you take those very infamous lifts of Kenyatta Hospital, you will find people with badges that are written trainee doctors, and mostly they'll be in a company, about 2 or 3 of them, following around some of the senior doctors that are practicing. I guess that's all that these students of Kenyatta University are asking of us, that their trainee doctors get to have a chance to practice and train and learn alongside their professional seniors. So I do not know, unless there's something beyond good reason, Mr. Speaker, I think as Senator Sifuna says, and I agree with him entirely in the things that he's saying, save for the fact that he needs civic education on the importance of trees, Mr. Speaker. You know, when you're during President Moi's days, there used to be the very famous topic, momonyoko wa udongo. I think Senator Sifuna may have missed that lesson, especially at this time where Senator Moses Kajwang is a leader of a very important caucus in this House on climate action. And I believe part of what the rallying call that they are asking us to do is to do exactly just that, Mr. Speaker. However, back to this particular petition, these are such petitions that we don't need to have 60 days. This is something that you call Susan Nakumincha and the good minister who was here before us today, Machogu. And ask of them that please prepare a cabinet memo or a legal notice, take it back to the president, because it looks straightforward to us that all these students are asking for is an opportunity to learn, Mr. Speaker. It needs not even to have gotten to this parliament, because in fact part of the first questions that you ask them is that what are you doing in office until citizens have to petition parliament for such decisions to be made, Mr. Speaker. So it's my sincere most hope, Mr. Speaker, that our committee will quickly dispense of this matter and the students of Kenyatta University can enjoy what is rightfully theirs. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the chance.
Senator Muma. Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this, to speak to this issue. Mr. Speaker, I urge that we support this petition and for the Committee on Health to actually treat this as an urgent issue. Mr. Speaker, as far as I know, universities are not allowed to incorporate a medical school unless that medical school is attached to a teaching and referral facility. Mr. Speaker, Kenyatta University, when it began, was largely focusing on education. Nairobi focused on engineering and medicine, and Kenyatta was focusing largely on education. When Kenyatta applied and introduced the medical school, it was also facilitated to set up the Kenyatta National Teaching and Referral Hospital. Mr. Speaker, what is said in that petition is appalling, that anybody would deny the Kenyatta University students and medical school trainers or lecturers from using the very facility that was set up because of that medical school. It sounds like a big joke. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Kenyatta National Hospital, it is the teaching and referral facility for the University of Nairobi. Moi University also introduced medical school, and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital was set up precisely to enable us to train the doctors from Moi University in a practical manner. So as Senator Sifuna puts it, it is a matter of common sense. It is a matter that we should not belabor. And I think the head of the parastatal, the head of the university, the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital needs possibly to step aside. If he can actually preside, he or she can be presiding over a policy decision that can deny the university the use of that facility. What they are actually doing is churning into the labor market a team of doctors and other medical personnel who are not well trained because they are denying them this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I think the need for the country to have properly qualified and taught medical personnel is bigger than having so and so or who the other person as the chair or the CEO of that teaching and referral hospital. So I wish to ask that the committee look into that policy. If it is a policy that was made by the board of Kenyatta Teaching and Referral Hospital, that board should actually be dissolved so that we can have a board that understands why that facility was set up and to understand that that is a public facility that must deliver as was intended. Mr. Speaker, if I am not wrong, I think Kenyatta National Hospital may very well be registered as a parastatal. It is the Moi referral facility may also be registered as a parastatal. So the problem may not be per se that it is registered as a parastatal. I think the problem is that those who are running that facility have got it into their head that the facility is theirs. And they think that they can actually block away the primary reason why that facility was set up. So I wish to urge that the Senate fast tracks the dealing into this matter. I understand we don't have funds to do activities. This one is urgent because we have doctors and nurses to be taught. I suggest you find some money from wherever you find it for this committee to immediately engage and look into this issue and do what it requires. I suggest those in government move fast. Gerard K. loves to pull weight about being in government. You might even want to get an executive order done so that this issue is resolved once and for all. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this petition by Kenyatta University students on the use of Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. Mr. Speaker, just as my colleague senators have said, it is extremely disturbing for the board of the hospital to lock out students from Kenyatta University from using the facility for training. Mr. Speaker, how on earth do you explain students from Kenyatta University traveling all the way to Kiambu, level 4 facility that is not well resourced like Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, to use it for training while leaving a whole facility within their institution to go and seek other facilities outside the university? Mr. Speaker, I think there is an act of gross misconduct on those who made the decision to actually remove the hospital from the university. Looking at the structure and the inception of that facility, Mr. Speaker, it was the university's initiative to actually design, build, and develop a research, teaching, and referral hospital for purposes of training. Mr. Speaker, it is even more surprising that the board of the hospital can actually decide to outsource lecture halls that were meant for training, laboratories that were meant for training, lecture halls that were meant for training, just to collect rent. How desperate is this hospital to raise revenue to the extent of leasing out laboratories, leasing out lecture halls, so that students can miss that opportunity. Mr. Speaker, medical schools undergo regular inspections to make sure that the quality of training that is being given to these doctors meets the national and international standard for doctors to qualify. The training of these students is at risk of being discontinued if inspections are carried out and found that their training facilities or whatever they're using for training doesn't meet the set standards that are meant for training doctors. Mr. Speaker, therefore, this is an urgent matter, and I think the committee where the matter will be referred to, Mr. Speaker, will benefit a lot from what National Assembly. I'm also surprised that this is a matter that had already been canvassed at the National Assembly, but it looks like the ministry never bothered to take any action. Mr. Speaker, I've read parts of this petition, and it is even also more surprising that even the Vice Chancellor of that university does not sit in the board of that hospital. How do we have a facility within a facility and the owners of the facility are not allowed to even participate in the process? Mr. Speaker, as my colleagues have said, there are things that are common sense, but I think these days common sense is no longer common sense. We just have to be decisive as a house in handling this matter. And I think as Senate being the upper house, I think we have a responsibility of restoring common sense in this country. And this is one matter that we have to take seriously and demonstrate to the nation that we have common sense in this Senate so that these students can get opportunity to train in a facility consumerate to where other student doctors are being trained in this country, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I therefore support this petition. And as the committee will look at this, we are also asking that they also look at those who are involved in the decision so that appropriate action is also taken to deter others who might in future want to engage in such acts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support this petition.
Senator Oburu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I also want to add my voice to those who have spoken on this petition before. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad that this matter is taking too long when, in my view, Mr. Speaker, this should have been done very, very long time ago, because if it was already canvassed in the National Assembly and it is still coming to the Senate more than a year later, Mr. Speaker, this is something which means there is some laxity somewhere. And I hope that Honorable Chariot there and Cheragay, who is always very fast, please, instead of increasing prices of things very fast like fuel and so on, take up this matter. Take up this matter and deal with it before it takes too long. Students are suffering, and you know it, that in Eldoret, that is where all our people, even from Bondo, from everywhere, that's where they go. We go to Eldoret, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. That is the best hospital in the whole of the Western region. This is because it is attached to the university, which is doing research, and they are also using the expertise and from the professors there and the students who are learning and also helping to work there. So actually it is another very big advantage for an hospital or for a university, for an hospital to be attached to a university. So Mr. Speaker, I think this is something which we should take very seriously. It is something which I think more of the other side, please help us so that this matter does not take too long being passed here, taken to committee, taken to what, and yet it is something which is a simple policy, which you should just change, revoke that gazettement of that parastatal there, and let the hospital be attached to the university the way other hospitals, even the Kenyatta National Hospital here, is attached to, together with the University of Nairobi, and it is working very well. And Mr. Speaker, I really get surprised that these days, these hospitals, which are supposed to be, public hospitals, have become much, much worse than private hospitals. People prefer to go to private hospitals. But Mr. Speaker, during colonial times, public institutions like hospitals, hospitals were functioning much better than private hospitals. And people were going to public hospitals instead of the private hospitals. But now, these days, if you are going to public hospital, people say, but how could colonialists be better than us? Mr. Speaker, this is something which is really surprising. Even public schools used to be better than private schools. Mr. Speaker, there is something wrong which we have to look at. I think in those days, if you went to, it was called King George VI Hospital, it was much better than these private hospitals like Nairobi Hospital. Now people have to go to private hospitals. And I hope these university hospitals will take the lead to help us to come back, to make public hospitals better than private hospitals, like the Eldoret one is doing. It is already taking a lead. And let this one also at Kenyatta serve students and also serve members of the public as efficiently. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, the 30 minutes period meant for intervention is well spent, and therefore pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, the petition is hereby committed to the Standing Committee on Health for its consideration. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading this prayer to respond to the petitioners by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. I thank you. Honorable Senators, before we move to the second petition, I have this communication to make. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Albright Junior School, Nairobi County. The group comprises 3 teachers and 12 students from the Journalism Club who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Nairobi just 1 minute to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me opportunity to welcome the students of Albright to the Senate. And on behalf of my colleagues and on behalf of the entire House, to wish them a fruitful visit of the Senate. You've said that they are members of the Journalism Club. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we have had conversations in my office following a request that came from one of the schools, Huruma Girls, to support the journalism clubs in public schools in Nairobi. And as I speak today, we are at a very advanced stage with one of the leading global manufacturers of audiovisual equipment to actually support drama and communication clubs, art clubs in many of the schools in Nairobi. I am sure that if the teachers of Albright were to say the right things, there would be no problem for me including them in this program, although it was targeted at public schools, so that we are able to grow the talent in the school and hope that we can have very serious future journalists, news reporters, and all the others from this particular school. Mr. Speaker, as they might understand, the press, journalism are one of the 4 pillars of democracy, Mr. Speaker, and that we need them. We need to see new practitioners in journalism. That is an essential cog in protection of our democracy every day, because it shines light on everything that we do especially as elected leaders here. Even as we are in this chamber, you can see this is the parliamentary broadcast service, so that everything we say here is actually seen by the citizens out there. And you can confirm as citizens of Embakasi that the things that I am saying here are the things that you've sent me. So I want to thank them for this visit, and I wish them a successful visit, and I hope that we will be seeing some big names in media coming from Albright. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The second petition is by Senator Mariam Sheikh Omar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A petition to the Senate by President of Choka concerning illegal demolition of the house by Kenya Power and Lighting Company in Choka.
Focus on Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Bwari Michelle, every Thursday at 7